Welcome back to News Check, and many thanks indeed for joining us. Early on, we had Lensa Odingo on the bottom of your screen right now. The lovely lady there is Susan Thuku. On the second hour, as I had mentioned earlier, we are looking at the state of people power politics in the country. And of course, what has really grabbed the headlines of late is the death of Albert Ojwang in police custody. And everything, the politics and actually the investigation surrounding that. And why I'm saying this is because what we knew as a country in the beginning is not what we know now, begging a lot of questions. But yesterday we did see the Interior Cabinet Secretary Onesmus Kipchumba Murkomen there announcing some police reforms that he said some will take time, some will be done immediately. That is something that I think is also key to us as a country when we talk about police reforms. And also we are looking at our streets in Nairobi. You do remember on Thursdays a number of youths did make their way into town, some of which turned out chaotic, to protest in solidarity with Albert Ojwang. But we'll be looking at that plus much more. Allow me to now rope in my panel of experts. Thank you indeed so much, gentlemen, for making time. Beginning from my immediate left, we have Kimani Mwangi, who is a governance and a political analyst as well. Just next to him, karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
It's been a while.
It's been a minute.
Yeah. Just next to him, we have Dr. Harun Isaac Hassan, who is a leadership and governance expert. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
And I know you hold a very, very dear part of security in your heart, both as a leader and also as a politician. And I'm looking at the police reforms. Some people yesterday did mention that this could be a knee-jerk reaction by the government because these are some of the things that should have come earlier on, including some of the things that we were told by the CS that the government will be keen to look at going forward. I would like your take in regards to the police reforms announced yesterday by CS.
Ben, thank you very much. I think when we are getting time to discuss issues that matters,
yes,
I think we need to take significant time and thought to make sure that Kenyans understand what goes on around them so that we see generally if it is of beneficial to them or not. And of course, the bigger challenge is when our government quite often have what you just said as a knee-jerk response. I don't think if police require strategic, reform documents, there are quite a number of reform documents that have already been put in place. The only thing that we are lacking is that allocation. We rarely allocate to the reforms that we desire. Quite often we talk about reforms when issues arises. But when it comes to a matter of allocating resources, resources are allocated for things which are not a priority to the community as well as the arms that are likely to deliver services directly to the community. So the issue is not about the reform. These reforms have been echoed in several reports. Remember there was a report. Maraga's report came in heavily and said, indeed, we do not need to have a lot of policy or reforms. We need implementation of those reforms. We have not seen any steps towards implementation of those reforms. And therefore, whenever there is an issue, Kenyans will want to draw again another document to show that something is being done. Indeed, what is necessary for now, as a matter of urgency, is the parliament to allocate enough resources to the National Police Service in order for them to put in place the necessary reform measures that has already been documented and has been put into policies. The other component is reforms, which are, there is an issue that has initiated the reforms, whereby it's only in Kenya where when you are a complainant and unfortunately become a senior police officer, you are judged by the society. You are judged by human rights groups. You are judged by politicians from different quarters, and you are judged by tribes from who do not belong to your tribe. Meaning, yesterday, the Deputy Inspector General of Police has stepped aside. How will a complainant, someone who is a complainant, who has taken his complaint to the relevant authority, regardless of his rank, influence an investigation that is carried out by an independent authority from the police? Because IPOA do not report to the Deputy Inspector General of Police, even the Inspector General of Police. They are an independent entity. By any means, if this investigation would have been carried out by the police mainstream, whether it is DCI or any other body within the police mainstream, then there is a cause for alarm. But this, at any one time, the police has no role in what has happened, because they are the ones who are under the radar. They are being investigated. And therefore, when you ask someone in his office, just you resign, you leave the office, you should be arrested, you know, we have politicized our institutions, and to the extent that when it is not your turn, we beat the drums on the wrong side. And when it comes to your side, you come and complain, say that the police are not doing their work. So generally, I do not understand the pressure that has made the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Mr. Langat, to step aside. In any case, he will not go into...
Should he have done that a little bit, maybe earlier?
No,
or
it was not actually necessary to do it. I have told you...
But you have seen yourself...
Globally, no, the pressure... These are judgments from politicians inciting and giving young people money to come and cause chaos. The Thursday demonstration in Nairobi was not called for. Why do you destroy people's property? How do you expect police officers to come and support
you feel that he shouldn't have resigned?
He should, actually, there's no ground globally. I mean, we have gone to many countries. We know how things work. There is a public interest. But when you are, a public interest means Mr. Langat would have stepped aside if he was not a complainant. If his police officers have done crime within police station, the fact that he is the commander of those police officers, then there is a reason for him to step aside, because he will have protected his police officers. This particular incident, he is a complainant like any other person. Njue will wake up and go to a police station and complain against anyone who has offended him. Any other business that are committed by people on the ground, or the people who are mandated to do that work, they should carry their cross. But victimizing people, we are setting a wrong precedency that is likely to work against us when we are not on the correct side of the law. The time will come. And therefore, I think the police reform that the Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Murkomen, has elaborately stated yesterday, it would have been something that they would have done long ago. They shouldn't have waited an incident that relates to this. CCTVs were present in some of the stations. Others weren't there because of resources. Go to the police stations. Have you seen police stations and their offices? Even in the city, they look like slum centers. Why are the police stations are not given priority for them to be modern and build up very good, like for example, Central Police Station is at the heart of the CBD. It will have been an establishment that will have been modern, that anyone who comes in can even be screened by the walls of that structure. But now it's a shanty place where vehicles which have died 10 years ago are parked, and the offices are as good as cages of people who are living in distracted properties, where there are no even clear comfort of the person who is operating there. So the fault should be with the people who are supposed to provide resources for that particular purpose. If resources are available and proper office structures are put in place and proper cells, this wouldn't have happened.
All right. I would like to pick your mind Kim, because Daktari holds a different opinion in regards to the stepping down, not resignation. But in a country that, or in the part of the world where resigning is not an option for many, some have even said that they would rather die than resign, I totally feel that maybe it was the right time for him to step aside. Maybe he stepped aside a little bit late in the whole saga. I'm looking at the internet for the last couple of days. The DIG stepped down, resigned. I'd like to pick your mind in regards to that and the reforms that were announced yesterday by the Interior CS, Kipchumba Murkomen.
There are things we can't run away from. One is that those who hold public office hold it for public good. And they must hold it in trust of the public, and therefore those are not their offices. Now, when a DIG in Kenya makes a complaint, we are not even sure he made one. In fact, by law, in strict interpretation of the law, what they did was abducting the young man. Because when you are arrested, they haven't been able to provide evidence that DIG in fact, had an OB, let alone the fabrications that we've been treated to in the media. This is a man who misuses his office. Somebody writes something he doesn't like about him.
Yes.
So he says, because I'm the DIG, then I will show this young man that I'm a powerful man you don't play around with. So he misuses public funds to have people from Nairobi go get a young man almost 400 kilometers away to bring him to Central Police Station.
I think we've already canvassed that up to them.
I want to explain my thoughts about it.
Okay.
And then when the young man is killed in cold blood, then all of a sudden it is said he was a complainant, and that is why the young man was gotten from wherever to the... Then when I want you to look at even when he steps aside. There is nothing in law called stepping aside. The law is very clear. When a person is implicated and you are an officer of NPS, you are interdicted or you resign. Interdiction means that is now the formal stepping aside. You no longer receive your salary. You are a man of interest in this case. If you are cleared, you get your dues in accruals and you resume your office.
Actually, you can't even leave the country.
This man, there is a statement from a police officer that he ordered the torture of the dead. If he did not have to do it in person, what makes you think that he cannot interfere with investigations just because he has let his junior to hold the office for him? Now hold on, let me finish. You had your time.
I just want to give you one clarification. I just want to give you one clarification.
I too could have given clarification. I didn't. You had your time.
Kindly, gentlemen, just let him finish up, because I also have something in regards to
in actual sense, in a working democracy, National Police Service should have interdicted the DIG immediately information came that he could have had a hand in what happened. If he was a man of honor, which exactly he's not, he would have resigned to allow for investigations to go on, right? Parading yourself in a pressure where misinformation is fed to Kenyans, right? And you only step aside, which is in any way not legal. There's nothing called stepping aside. What is stepping aside in actual sense, by the way? It is taking some leave days, and you leave your junior to hold your office. If apparently, and as it has been alleged, you did not have to do it personally, you take us for fools to imagine that because you've taken leave days, now you are okay and investigations can't be interfered with.
All right, let's go to the actual part in regards to the reforms.
Yes.
I get where he's coming from in regards to, and I believe the CS did observe that. He said even if you're a CS, or even if you're, it doesn't matter which position you hold, but going forward, you will have to make a formal complaint. You do remember that there was no.
So why was he insisting on formal? Because there wasn't any formal complaint.
Exactly. That is why I'm talking about. It's a good thing that you observed that, because the CS say that going forward, even if it's Dr. Hassan, even if it's me, even if it's Kamau, even if it's a deputy president, even if it's a president, he has to make a formal complaint to the police. These are some of the things that we always overlook, which are very essential. Because if that happened, then we'll be having a clear structure of what exactly happened, as opposed to now where we are jumping up and down.
Ben, I think it is good for us to speak with a bit of decorum, to speak with genuineness and not street judgments. The Deputy Inspector General of Police has been confirmed making a report or complaint by the Inspector General of Police. And he made it to the Director General of CID, the Criminal Investigation Bureau.
But
and
that is not right.
Those has been confirmed.
Any formal complaint, Daktari, has to be made in an official police station.
Do we have?
You don't have to jump, or because you're holding a senior position, you just don't make phone calls. He should have gone, just like CS said yesterday, he should have made a complaint, and going forward, they say that they will be making a formal complaint. Not
the CID headquarters is a police station.
He didn't do that. Let's be very honest, Dr.
No.
He did not go to the police station.
This has been confirmed. You know, we do not want to read things behind the curtain.
Yes.
What we are reading is what we have been informed. What is in the document for the investigators' eye power are the facts. That is the people who will tell us whether there was a proper OB which was put in place. And of course, that is where they will pick the initial stages of their investigation. And therefore, this has not been confirmed to us by anyone other than them. And because it's a matter that is being investigated, they do not want to disclose. But the issue of making judgments based on what you think or what some activists have said will be a very wrong directions to go, because if it is you who will have been in his shoes, then you will have said you are being victimized for no reason. But so the bottom line is that,
without fairness, he did not follow the right procedure.
He did according to what we have been told. If there was no formal,
If there was actually, the CS wouldn't have made that statement. I was right here where I'm seated when the CS made a 48 minutes.
Ben, let's get to reality.
And said going forward.
Let's get to reality. Let's get to reality.
Can I speak?
Let's get to reality. The reality is that the formal, there are several formal way of doing complaint. You can call the station and report, and the person who is receiving your complaint records it. It's not must you go to a police station. That's we have
an isolated case here. He didn't have to make calls. He should have done. He should lead by example.
Ben, can I say something?
Yes. He should have made a formal.
Daktari can spin all he wants.
Gentlemen, I wanted us to be very objective in this conversation.
We are going objectively with this purpose.
Fact number one is that the IG himself misled the public.
I think we are past that.
No. I want to show you why we can't even rely on what they tell us. First is that the spokesman of the police misled the public, intentionally or otherwise.
And actually the IG did apologize for that.
The IG did the same.
Yes.
Now telling us that we rely on the same information of the misinformants, then that is spinning.
I think that is why
we have a police in custody, a police officer in custody, who wrote down his statement from where I'm deriving all that he said about what happened, right? Now, if that is innuendos and his evidence, then what he's doing is spinning for whatever side he is. The other thing is, we saw goons on the day he says that the demonstrations were not called for. Demonstrations is part of our constitution dispensation. It is enshrined in the constitution. The requirement it be peaceful. Now, when we see 2 cars burned, the youth were very quick to check with NTSA records, and those number plates. All right. When we have politicians
I totally understand.
eating their cake and they still want to have it, then we must call out their lies.
The investigations are currently underway, and we do not have sufficient proof in regards to that? Because if we did, I believe those people should be inside by now.
Yeah,
True or false?
Yeah, you know,
but we can also not walk out of our skins. We can change who we are.
It's street.
Telling us
I
that all
again
we
repeat.
need is to put CCTV cameras in police
I again repeat.
Yes.
My
was a total wastage of
is,
time.
my brother is making allegations that he has no proof.
And that is why
These investigations are going on.
Just like the Daktari
Can we wait until
just like the Daktari
this investigation,
cleverly.
the end tail of this investigation?
Actually, why
I'm even shocked that he says that the stepping down was uncalled for.
It's actually uncalled for.
How now?
How will that contribute or help in the investigation of
when you are subject to investigation?
Gentlemen,
he is not in the subject
he
of
was
investigation.
Not, actually, nobody
he has not
hounded
been
him out.
mentioned anyway.
But the moment you've been mentioned by
who?
Somebody held in custody for having committed a crime. These persons mentions you as having given the order. At that moment, you are a suspect.
I think we are going out of...
No.
Right.
At that moment, you are a suspect.
We are governed by constitutions. We are ruled by laws.
Exactly.
We don't do anything that we want.
All right. Gentlemen,
we have not seen Langat being called for even interrogation, meaning then the investigators have not yet seen anything linking him to the process of this. Other than reporting. So we cannot talk about that until he is related to that or associated with him. And investigators questions him. That's the time we can say he may have had some involvement. But I do not think if that is...
Okay, fine. We leave that to the investigators, and of course that is why we will see we are not canvassing anything that is already in court under investigations.
But what I'm looking at... the bar too low. People don't come give us misinformation when you tell them to apologize. We should fire them for that.
Yeah, but unfortunately,
it's setting the bar.
I remember he was in Parliament and he was also in Senate, and unfortunately, he was not reprimanded for that.
No, but NPS should interdict these fellas. You don't come to public and lie, and then you apologize.
I totally agree with you.
When evidence
Everybody should
out.
Be held accountable. If you lie, you should just don't say, I'm sorry for the information.
And this, for me, it is not about the DIG only.
Right.
It's even about the police spokesman, the IG himself, for having lied to the public about death of a Kenyan.
All right. Now, we have very good policies. And just like Doc observed that, you find that there are so many commissions. We even had the Maraga one, the latest one, which gave out a list of maybe some of the reforms that should be in the police force. But, police service. We started our police reforms a little while ago when we were a police force, now we are police service. But, gentlemen, we have very good policies. What about the implementation? How would you what would you say in regards to our
the biggest problem about our National Police Service, we should call it National Police Force, because that is what it is. With all the brutality we see being meted on people by the same force, let's not lie to ourselves calling it a service. It is not. It does not serve our interest. Now, let me give you a simple scenario. You report a case to police, to any police station, and you even have to bribe them to come and to the scene of crime. Your house has been broken too.
I've experienced that.
The first thing they tell you at Wekagari Mafutas, these guys don't serve us. Then they are so brutal. Imagine the number of cases we have of these police officers. There was another one of a woman who was giving birth on a cold floor.
Actually, the police service has not had a very good month of June.
Now, every day we are treated to brutality, some inhumane treatment by these people, every day. And then we think that the biggest problem we have is underfunding them. In fact, what we have, in my opinion, and I'm sorry to put it this way, we have a legalized mafia. No, hold on. That's my opinion.
It's your opinion, but unfortunately,
I'll explain it.
We are on national television.
You have a traffic offense. The first thing they do is to ask you for bribe, not to take you to court.
But there are some who take you to court.
How many out of 10? You know, we must speak truth.
We must even if it's an isolated case, we cannot just...
We badly
need... That's a blanket condemnation.
It's my opinion.
Unfortunately, you know, we are a national broadcaster.
Yes. And it's my opinion that what we have is a big problem that we must... It's a bigger problem that we must face head on.
Let's look at that.
If the National Police Service is ready to help, then the police service must work for the people because it exists in service of the people.
All right, Daktari,
Then,
how do we ensure, just a minute, how do we ensure we drop the tag of police force? Because that is what we had earlier before we became police service. How do we drop that and foster better inclusion? We have police now embedded in us. I remember a long time ago, they were more or less confined to one place, but now they live with us. And a number of reforms have also been mooted, and some have already started, because the moment that we heard about a CCTV camera, many Kenyans didn't even know that some of the police stations did have CCTV cameras.
Ben, allow me to say this. There are over 50 million Kenyans living in this country, and they are protected by police officers every night. You know, if someone has not seen insecurity in where he lives, he will not even know the role of the police officers. I'm not defending isolated cases where you will find an individual or a police officer behaving otherwise from the routine way of his responsibility. But generally, if an element of weakness in the police service is realized, we will be ruled by goons and thugs, and we will not even sleep in our beds, the comfort that we have now, and wake up in the morning and come and make our opinions, judgmental opinions in national television. So I think that is one. Secondly, in regards to the police reform, as earlier mentioned, I do not think we need reforms to be documented. They are already there as policies.
They should be implemented.
They should be implemented, and we should be on the implementation phase. I had a conversation recently with the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kanja, and he mentioned to me that the important thing that we need now is the implementation, and he's doing all things that is possible to do that. And people are supporting him, including the CS, in regards to the implementation. That's why yesterday he came out very clearly and said that police requires reform. The budget is allocated by executive and approved by parliament. If parliamentarians debate on this financial year 2025-2026 and say, can we prioritize all the things that we have budgeted for and give everything that police require, then the problems that we are talking about will end. How do you expect a police officer to walk from a station, go to a locality of around 5-10 kilometers on either foot or a motorcycle? You have seen police officers on top of the Nduthi. How come, with their own uniform, to go and respond to a crime? That is also things that needs to be put into consideration. And therefore, if we don't facilitate the police service, then the police service will become a police force. So it's all about the governance and the leadership of the country that needs to reprioritize things and make sure that this is addressed effectively. We should not respond to an isolated cases and blanketly condemn the police forces. My brother has not been, I have lived in almost 18 countries that are of conflict with no government and no police. People protect themselves using their tribesmen to protect them. And you can't even sleep the whole night. Any sound, including a pen dropping on the floor of a house, you will wake up and thinking that it's a bullet that has reached into your bedroom. So if you have not seen that, then you will think of doing what we are doing. But if we know that peace is one ultimate thing that we require, then we know that we will contribute as a society to the National Police Service in order for them to be facilitated to do their work.
And gentlemen, when we are looking at these police reforms, I appreciate the fact that in as much as in the last couple of days, the police force has really been stoned, and you know, sentiments coming left, right and center that we need reforms in the police service. We also need to appreciate the good that they do. And actually the CS did observe that yesterday, noting that in as much as there are police officers who are working towards ensuring that the rule of law is observed, there are excesses in the police when it comes to their work as well. And without the glass half full or half empty. The reforms that have been mooted, and Doc has talked about, we don't even need reforms. Whatever we have is enough to be implemented and have a workable and conducive environment when we talk about police and Kenyans. I would like to pick your man on that. Now the glass half full. It has been half empty, I think, for the last couple of weeks for the police force.
It's very, I don't know how the right word to put it, but what flares my anger is the way as Kenyans we look at things. Firstly, we are here saying that what matters most is peace, and that as long as we have peace, we are not wrong to turn a blind eye to the police excesses. It's called emotional.
No. We haven't. Kindly, we wouldn't want us to get that out.
No. What I'm saying is, it is good that we have peace. We appreciate it, but we must call out a service when much of what it does, besides what it exists for, is its excesses.
Yes.
And we cannot keep singing about reforms without doing them in actual sense. Whether you are a police officer or not, anybody who breaks law must know that the repercussions are so dire that they can do it tomorrow. But by the way, the only way to have people follow the law is to make it so expensive to break the law. Now, if I drove and exceeded the speed, and I knew that if I'm caught, I'm not going to walk away because I've given 1,000, I'm not going to do it tomorrow. Now, if somebody breaks the law because they think they have the power to break the law, the only way to stop it from recurrent is making it, or the deterrent, so expensive for them, so that people know that we have systems that work. In fact, this has never been a problem of bad police officers. It's a problem of a bad system within which police officers operate, whereby a police officer commits a crime and we are here holding them with the velvet gloves. So then it becomes a habit among them. So we really need to look at this police force and say, yes, it is true we have a functional police force. It is true that we have police officers wielding guns around and making sure we are safe. All that is true. But then we cannot allow them to exist in a system whereby all that is called upon of somebody who's been implicated in a cold murder is to step aside and go home, enjoy your days with kids, while some other guys are sleeping on a cold floor for the same crime, right? As in, we must have a law not reduced to a cobweb, whereby it catches for us the small insects only, and the big animals trample it and go unpunished. The moment we make it understood by everybody that anytime you break the law in Kenya, the hand of the law will catch up with you and justice will be served, then people will start behaving. We are not going to see these things we are calling isolated cases that have become one too many among police officers. We'll see police officers that treat you humanly because they know the law requires you to do so, reads you your rights when they come to arrest you, and they don't come and put those things they put on your hand that they keep cutting your skin, even when you are compliant. The law is very clear that if you come to arrest me and I'm compliant, you don't even have to put handcuffs on me. It is only when I'm resisting, because handcuffs are to restrain me. You don't put handcuffs on somebody and drive 400 kilometers with them on a handcuff in a car and he's not jumping off and all that, because that is mistreatment. It's denying people their rights, and that is why you see us angry at it. We're not angry because we are these people who live in suburbs where there is peace, and that we don't appreciate that the police exist to give peace. We are angry because, that notwithstanding, there is a code of conduct and ethics that even the police must adhere to. And this must be made to work, not to be seen to work. And that is where the difference lies. That this implementation, the implementation of all these reports we've gathered all along years, there was Gregor's report that brought us about the police reforms. Yeah? We saw the chart those years when the police were being asked questions of the M-Pesa transactions and all those things, and we are back to where we were before then. So then we must ask ourselves a question, until when must we go in circles? We must mean it, we must make it work, and Kenyans must feel that the police service exists for them. That if I report a crime, I should feel that the police really cares. Funding is one of the problems, but the bigger problem is the wiring of the police officers themselves. Rogue, power unto themselves. This can't be allowed to happen. Yeah.
All right. And still on matters governance, even the court observed that the tempo that we are already in, the political drums, we are beating the political drums a little bit too early, and they said that this should be seized. That should be stopped. But unfortunately, that is the same thing that we are having. We are always on a political mood. That cannot guarantee matter security, Dr.
Yeah, I think there are two things that needs to be put into consideration. One, the behavior of the society that is linked to the service providers. And unfortunately, the only visible service provider within the government is the police. There are quite a number of other service providers. Probably there are issues that we can talk about it. But because the police appears every other event, for example, in our political events, police must be present, whether you are for the ruling party or the opposition party. The second thing that I think we need to look into is the behavior of our political wing, where you come out of a general election today and within 3 months you start again campaigns for the next election. That is done by both the winners and the losers, and we go in between all this time to see the consequences of these two giants causing, and the innocent people suffer there. For example, police must be present in where opposition rallies are. But in that rally, there are goons who are also kept there by the opposition to come and destabilize the police so that they don't push them.
Yeah, but the point is that we shouldn't be having those campaigns.
Absolutely, we should have a reform, or rather laws that governs when political rallies should begin. And I don't think if also we are lacking anything. It's only that Kenyans have decided to become, a gadget for misuse of freedom of speech and gathering. Because in some countries, you see a police recently in the demonstration, a young man was sharpening his machetes in front of the police officers, which was in the social media. In other countries, that young man will have been shot, simply because that is a weapon. Before we migrated to guns, we were using machetes, arrows, and spears. So it is categorized as a weapon. And therefore,
we need to
if it is supposed to be demonstration,
we should obey the
we
court's
must obey
decision.
the law as per the way it has been prescribed. The moment we start compromising some issues, because saying that, oh, this is human right, or this is it, we will going to lose the grip, and we'll be off the grip, and Kenya will not be in a good shape.
Yeah.
We have stayed in this country when our neighbors have gone into disaster. We sustained ourselves for many years to see whether we can be much better than our neighbors who have lost their governance and leadership system. And therefore, if we lose that as well, then the impact will be more severe for us, as we have already invested in this country largely, than even our neighbors who have not invested in their countries very much, and they can fight over it. Therefore, what I think is that politics should be regulated and should be stopped We should not have a politics from the day of election. Once government comes into place, the government should show Kenyans the services that they are supposed to deliver for the period of the 5 years. If there is isolated cases, for example, in a by-election, it has its own time for politicians to politic so that that seat is replaced. A leader is elected for that purpose. But generally, I think we are being distorted by our political games. We are being distorted that our misunderstanding of the constitution and of course the right of Kenyans in terms of right to speak, right to do anything you want. No, we must follow the law to the letter so that we have people who are being controlled by their own systems.
Yeah, still on the same, I was reading a thesis by a certain professor that the problems of the political problems that Africa has could be solved by making their politics less lucrative. Look at an MP. An average Kenyan doesn't earn more than 100,000 shillings. But when you look at MP, and I see Daktari is very keen because he wants to be 1 point something million. Our politics are so severe that we make them so lucrative and also very dangerous as well. We've seen MPs. How many MPs have been shot dead? How many people have been maimed because somebody is seeking a certain seat? So if at all we made our politics less lucrative, we could improve our governance. I would like to pick your mind.
Firstly, it's good to state that the Constitution is clear, that freedom must be accompanied by responsibility. And the law exists to ensure that even as you enjoy your freedom, it is attached to some level of responsibility to which you must account. The danger with ourselves is that we let the hyena become the judge where the victim or the culprit is the sheep. He cannot get justice. We have cut too much slack to the politicians that they are the owner of the system. Now, politicians don't go to these positions because of the mayor's salary. It is because of the impunity these positions give them. A bad system. An MP will kill, because you've seen them do that, and they will walk away with it. You will see them. How many MPs have murder cases going on? Some have even in some funny...
Some are actually sitting MPs.
Sitting MP, a person who misused his gun and shot somebody dead. And you see them even talking however they want. It's not about money. Let me tell you, the Kenyans making $1 million per month and who wouldn't mind joining politics are a zillion. But then, these people who run into these positions and are ready to use tens of millions, more than their 5 years accumulated salaries, is because of the impunity these positions earn them. They have the money. What they don't have is the impunity. Now they are going for it because we've made ours a bad system. We have IBC that has been clustered among the Chapter 15 institutions that are protected from political interference. The other one is EACC. But don't we see EACC being used as a tool by politicians in power to go for the cases of politicians who are out of power and who are not singing the song of those in power? And it is not about this regime. The Jubilee regime did so. There was the Kamata Kamata Friday. Yes. If you're not singing the song, the government is singing, and you have a case, we come for you. So our criminals are okay until opposition take power, and then they come for our criminals. It is a cycle. Then you wonder, why do we have a constitution that has even made their budget tier 1, the CFS, Consolidated Fund Services, that this constitution, this institution, the constitutional commissions, have their salary even protected, that their fund cannot be interfered with. Yet, they are there to serve the interest of politicians. Do you know why? Because in my opinion, these people are equally guilty. They have gotten to a level whereby as long as you cut me some slack, I cut you some slack. So you are EACC, you can be commissioned as ENACC, but to be corrupt because you do what we tell you to do. Now, when we have a country that has such system, it is not a people problem. It is that we must ask ourselves as a people, are we ready to continue with it? Now, the IBC has set rules of when campaigns begin. We have guys campaigning today. What is one term? Ruto must go. That is campaigning. At least the president can lie to us that his is not campaigning, it is development to us, because at least he's going to oversee some projects. But now when we have these guys...
right, because at the end of the day, the president is the symbol of national unity. So at the end of the day,
what I'm saying is, I'm saying that it is even more direct among the opposition, that they are in a campaign mode.
Yes,
the president
is in a campaign.
Yes.
That we
now when we have a deputy president every weekend in some empowerment, nonsensical things called empowerment, you wonder when did empowerment become seclusive that we have to empower a group and leave the others.
I think we have the
but
point
the thing is,
that we are in the campaign mode.
The thing is, Ben, IBC has set regulations, right? Have we seen IBC bar people from participating in an electioneering period because they started early campaigns?
No,
we haven't. Now, when we have institutions even protected by the Constitution and yet they are not doing their work, then I think as Kenyans we have to ask ourselves, whose interest do these even constitutional commissions that are protected by law are serving? IPOA is another one, right? It is protected by the Constitution from political interference so that it can execute its mandate to be the watchman who watches the watchman. But then when it doesn't serve its purpose, then as Kenyans we must ask, are we ready to continue with the service, or we just need to go back to factory settings and restart?
All right. And because of the interest of time, Daktari, in your last statement,
I'll be very
why are
brief.
we not deliberate in observing the rule of law?
One is the society. We shouldn't be going away from that. Sometimes we like blaming the ones who do the work, but the society itself is the way they have been nurtured. Secondly, we could be having people who in every society don't follow the norms of the society's rules, and those are common, and that's why we have the rule of law, so that those people can be taken to court and they are judged for their mistakes. Thirdly, is my brother, the way my brother views it. He is judging people with no evidence on issues that are not there.
Those are his own sentiments.
Those are his own
really
sentiments. Because
emphasize them.
when you say the president could just lie to us but say that he's going for development, no, that's not right. The president actually has no any mandate.
I think
to do
we've
any
corrected
politics.
that, and I've said that the head of state is the
yes, he's a symbol of unity,
symbol of national unity.
and wherever he goes, and of course, my friend Professor, he has told him he does something nonsensical. No, it isn't.
No.
Any developmental issues are very sensical.
Yes.
So I tend to think what we need to do now is that we need to approach things in a very sober mind, so that when we are making judgment, we don't offend or take the right of the other entity.
Right.
Even a criminal has a right. Even a criminal before the law has a right. And therefore, the way we are going, whereby we judge people on the streets and sentence them, should be avoided. And the society should keep to the norms of the rule of law in this country.
All right, and unfortunately, my director informs me that we really need to go, because in the next 2 minutes or so, Khalid Abdullahi Mohammed, my friend and colleague, is on the other side of the studio with Kurunzi, Mashinani and Tamrini. But I need to thank these two gentlemen indeed for making time and their insight. Kimani Mwangi just next to him, and Dr. Harun Isaac Hassan. And I will insist that the views expressed in this show do not necessarily reflect that of the corporation. Many thanks indeed for joining us. Let's do this some other time. I'll see you at 1 p.m. with Lunchtime News. My name is Bentro Njue, and Susan Thuku has been our sign language interpreter for this program. Many thanks, and have a blessed afternoon ahead.